something that my mom instilled in us, even when we really had nothing and didn't have much as kids, was giving back, the acts of service. And even when we didn't have a lot in the house, my mom would still take us down to St. Mary's Food Bank and have us pack boxes for families that were in need. And that just naturally instilled in me a love of it. I mean, to be able to see the faces of people, like the look of relief, the look of happiness, and you don't understand that as a kid, but when you get to be older and when you go through your own moments of scarcity, you begin to understand that, before they received that box, they were stressed, they were worried, they felt down on themselves because they weren't providing for their family. And so to have that relief is just, a godsend. And so, I love doing charitable things, and this is one of the hardest topics for me to actually talk about because I don't like talking about what I do, because I do a lot of things behind the scenes. I'm that guy where when I find out someone in my church lost their job and they can't afford, they're about to lose their car, I'll go into the bank and pay off their car secretly. And I'll tell the bank, no one needs to know about this. I don't want anyone to know about this. That's the kind of things I love to do. And then hear them talking about it. I have no idea who did this, but it was, it changed our lives. And those are the kinds of things I derive joy from. And it's hard, again, it's hard for me to talk about because I know it sounds funny because I get kickback when I say this all the time, but I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't really enjoy, I'm not fed by attention. I'd rather be the person in the background that watches the fruits of what I do and just know that, it's being paid forward. But I'll tell you a great story. I love this. This changed my life and my idea about charity. When I was working to get my music out, I didn't have a lot of money, and I was performing at a business conference in LA. I volunteered to go there and work so that I could attend the business conference and get the knowledge. And one of the things they let me do is they let me perform. And there's a lot of investors that would show up at these places. And this one lady took an interest in me. It was so cute because when I met her, I thought she was just like a retired secretary or something. She was wearing this green sweatshirt that her grandkids had made for her, and it was made with like puffy paint. It had a Christmas tree, and it was right around Thanksgiving time. Just to shorten up the story, because there's so much behind it, but she tells me, she goes, I've got a friend who is a vocal coach, and I'd like to introduce you to him, and if he likes you, I'm going to help you with your music career. And a lot of people make promises with you, especially right after you perform and they're excited about it. But not a lot of people ever followed through, and you don't take it personally. You just keep moving on. You keep, working the grind. Come to find out, she was a multi-millionaire. Her husband was the guy that invented air fresheners and would drive around. They would, in Nebraska, cut these things, dip them and make them and seal them. And he would drive his station wagon around selling them to car washes all over the United States. And the vocal coach she was talking about was a gentleman by the name of Seth Riggs, who was considered one of the greatest vocal coaches on the planet and was in LA. So fast forward, a lot of stuff happened. She flew me to LA to meet Seth Riggs, and I took 4 days of lessons with him. I was not used to opulence in any way, shape, or form. And I'll be honest, she spoiled me on this trip. I mean, we had a really nice rental car, and we had a really nice hotel, and I had my own room overlooking the Santa Monica Pier. I mean, it was just like more than I had been used to. And across the street from where the hotel was, looking out my balcony, there was a park. And in that park at night, the homeless would come and get together, and they would, just talk, and they would socialize there, and I would see them. And well, one night she took me out for this insanely big meal, and it was this surf and turf for two at this crazy expensive seafood restaurant. And I mean, it was like 2 whole lobsters, like 2 pounds of crab, and like potatoes. And like, it was just this massive feast. Like, there was no way that like 6 people could have finished this feast. And we were staying in a hotel. So when the waiter came over and said, did you want me to wrap this up for you? I said, you know what? Yeah, I'll go give it to the homeless people across the street. And so he comes back to the table with this like tray with aluminum foil, and he pulls it out and he puts everything into like, and he makes this swan out of the aluminum foil that was like this big. And he was like, here you go. So he hands me like this feast in the shape of a swan. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be weird. But we get back to the hotel, and she goes upstairs, and I go walking across the street. And there was this one homeless guy in particular who always seemed to walk around and check on the other homeless people at night. And so I walked up to him. He's sitting down, and I handed him this swan, and I said, "Are you hungry? I have a bunch of leftovers." And he takes this giant aluminum foil swan and he opens it, and he looks up at me with this look on his face. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized I was waiting for a thank you. And instead, what he said was, I could feed my friends. So here he was, homeless, not a lot of food, and he had enough food to last him for 3 or 4 days. And instead of making that last for 3 or 4 days, he decided him and his friends would feast for a night. And that humbled me to my core, because before that, I had done things for people, but I didn't realize that I had done them still looking for that thank you, that appreciation, that, that recognition for what I had done for them. I didn't realize I had ego still wrapped up in the charity work that I did. And in that moment, I realized he was 1,000 times more charitable in his heart than I was. And so from that point forward, I made it a goal that I would work to be that charitable, to where I wouldn't make any of it in one degree at all about me.